On the nod! 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 On the nod!
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Brackett. You're watching On the Nod. Today, I'm here with Broad from Brut. I knew I was going to mess it up. From the band Brut. Very excited to have you here today. How are you?
Yep, thanks for having me. Yeah, this is first one of these interviews, so it's
Oh,
exciting to be part of it. And I've been tracking through the backlog of the interviews so far, so trying to catch up
cool.
on the last few episodes anyway. So been enjoying those as well. So awesome to be part of it. Thanks for the look in, getting me on
Yeah,
board.
definitely. I love your music. So and I've never done a band from Australia before. And I was like, this is perfect. Yeah, I mean, you guys kick ass. So I'm very excited to interview.
Thank you. No, appreciate it.
Definitely. And thanks for looking at the past videos. Not a lot of people do that. So I appreciate that.
No, I wanted to see if there's any tricky questions that are going to pop up. So
No, I'm pretty easy. I'm pretty direct.
yeah, no, it's all good. No, I was really keen to catch up with the collapse one, partway through that, and then caught up with the Trev interview as well from Crown Court. And
Cool.
Waddy, it was good to see Waddy. So, yeah, big fans of all their work. So
Yeah, they're
it's nice
really
to be
good.
part of that crew in good company here. So appreciate the
Definitely.
looking.
I would say so. So, I usually start by asking how the band got together. How did Brute become a
Hmm.
band?
Yeah, that's a pretty good question. In that, Brut itself is at the moment a project band, so it's kind of a bit of a solo thing. That looking to make it into a more of a stable, well, like an actual physical band pretty soon. So there's
Oh,
kind of
okay.
the guys in the wings for that. So at the moment, it's just been pretty much me recording tracks, releasing, and started pretty casual and. Didn't really think where it was going to go. It was just more the fun of recording and releasing and just getting demos out there. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it just kind of has popped off a little bit from there, and it's yeah, it's been cool to see kind of get a little bit of traction. And there's yeah, like as I was saying, there's a few of my mates that are in the wings to fill positions and make it an actual thing. So that's yeah, that's the
Wow.
plan with it.
That's so interesting. I didn't know if you guys were all just one unit, but it sounds like, you do
Yeah.
all the work and then they just kind of jump in and fill in what you need.
Well, we haven't at the moment. We haven't played live yet, so
Oh,
that's the next
really?
step. Yeah, yeah. So at the moment, it's just pretty much a project studio band.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah. So that's where it's sitting at the moment, and then we're just going to look at yeah, making it real, I suppose, in the next I don't know weeks, months. We'll see how it goes, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's at the moment it's fun and it's been good to see it kind of get a bit of traction with a few listens here and there, and awesome to see it get a physical release as well. As far as Christian at Lionheart putting that out, it's been more than I expected would happen with the project up until this point. So yeah,
Cool.
it's
So
been a
you
blast.
guys did come out with like an album or a single?
So yeah, so there's a five track EP
Oh, EP.
that was
Okay.
out, that was released. Yeah, so that was released through Lionheart in a fairly small run. And I'm down to last four copies or so at like my place, so it's moved pretty well. As
Yeah,
most of the Lionheart stuff does, like all the stuff that Christian does is real quality stuff. So um, yeah, it tends to move pretty quickly as soon as it drops. So yeah, so physical copies of the show for it. So that's been a plus as far as seeing it kind
oh,
of progress from this demo project or a solo project, basically in like a spare room, to be yeah a full fledged release, I suppose. So yeah,
for sure. Now, do you guys, do you plan on having shows with the
yes,
guys?
that's the plan. We're kind of the guys I've got on board are all part of other bands as well, and so it's kind of in
Okay.
the sidelines at the moment, and we're really kind of not looking to make more kind of work for ourselves, I suppose.
Right.
So at this point, it's just yeah, planning around other bands. My main band at the moment is Marching Orders. I'm not sure if you've come across
Oh, yeah.
Marching.
Yeah. I'm familiar
Yeah,
with Marching Orders.
Yeah, cool. So that's kind of the main priority at this stage. And most of all, a couple of Brute songs actually came out of demos that were kind of planned for marching orders anyway. So that's kind of the connection that's kind of led into that side of things.
Cool. I had no idea that you were in that band. Very interesting. Very cool.
Yeah,
And
so that's I think as far as Brute, like it's been cool just to kind of release stuff fairly anonymously,
mhm.
and not link it to much at all. Like just kind of put it out there on its own kind of legs and see where it got to. So I haven't really done much in the way of like biographies or um, much detail as well as far as anything really. So it's
Right.
just been cool just to kind of just sit back and just see how it's going and yeah.
Yeah, definitely. How does Brute differ from marching orders?
I think the process, like, I think being a project band, there's a bit more freedom as far as what I can explore with, I suppose, and it's basically just I get all the same kind of all the songs, I suppose, as far as the structure, the elements come together. So, um, as far as the marching orders process of writing, there's been a few different lineups along the way as far as the band. I suppose the songwriting process has kind of changed a little bit along the way, but I think marching orders, we tend to refine things quite a bit along the
Hmm.
way as far as before we actually end up with a finished product and record it and release. I think Brute has been a bit more spontaneous as far as I'm able to kind of just record ideas, get them down, pretty
Yeah,
much release like within days of recording it. So yeah, it's been more kind of yeah, kind of ground level kind of releases and a bit more DIY sounding. Um, so style wise, it's probably not too far removed from it. Sound wise, it's probably a little bit different, I would say. Not as
yeah,
polished, not as refined, and yeah, a bit more kind of DIY, and it's the nature of just kind of bedroom demos, I suppose.
yeah. Do you you do all the writing, the songwriting for Brute, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Is that the
that's
same in
all.
marching orders? Do you do the songwriting there as
Marching
well?
orders, it's a bit of a shared load. We've had a few different lineup changes along the way. Typically, yeah, the songwriting process is shared. So Al, the singer, he tends to come up with he's got heaps of songs like demos always floating around. Um, Typically I would write, and my brother, he was in the band, he's not in the band anymore, but I'd kind of write with him and we'd bounce off each other. He was another main songwriter, and then I'd write songs as well. So um, yeah, that was
Cool.
the general the process of it, and then it would just be worked up as a band and would see kind of how it works and what it needs as far as different parts, structure, etc. So yeah.
Very cool. What would you say inspires a lot of your songs?
Like the content of songs or just the musically or just both?
I mean, both. Yeah, whatever. Either or.
Um, I, I think Brute has come off the back of more, I think, just Bandcamp, kind of just searching through Bandcamp and come across things that really stand out as far as kind of pushing boundaries, I suppose. Um, Along the way, though, I think like bands like Kran or Rancor, like French
Mhm.
oi bands,
I love
have
French.
really kind of stood out as far as that particular sound
Yeah.
has
Um,
inspired a bit, I suppose, as far as the production wise. A bit more
okay.
kind of stripped back, a bit more kind of bit of a raw kind of sound. I think that's probably yeah. I think yeah, predominantly a bunch of I think a bunch of like French bands I was listening to, French oi bands. There's a whole bunch of bands on the Paris on Oi compilation that
Oh,
really
okay.
that really stood out for me as far as just inspire me as far as like new sounds that are kind of that still reference older kind of bands, but are
Hmm.
kind of again pushing that forward in a new kind of space, I think.
Yeah, I love what's coming out of France right now. It's such a huge oi scene. A lot of
Yeah,
great bands.
yeah, a lot of good energy, really good energy there as well. I think it's kind of yeah, a bit of that revival as far as and Oi in general. I think it's had that bit of a revival, a bit of a kind of like new bands again pushing it, and again still kind of referencing bands of the past. But I think it's really kind of yeah, it's kind of taken on this whole new kind of thing of its own. I think.
Right. I would say so. It's exploding over there. I can see
Mm.
how you're influenced by it. for sure. What are some of your other influences for Brut, like music that you've listened to in the past?
I think it's all kind of comes together. Like anything that's like older bands like Foreskins, um,
Nice.
Blitz definitely. That's kind of
Oh
just
yeah.
has always been a favorite. I think.
You did a
Um,
cover, right? You did a Blitz cover?
yeah. So just dropped a cover of
Nice.
So it was the Nation on Fire. Yeah, so I think Blitz has been a big influence again for this project, but also I think marching orders as well. It's always kind of been there, and they're definitely one of those standout bands that um, they've kind of that still stand out today against like newer releases as well. So and then you've got bands like Mess that are really kind of honing in on that and have mastered that sound as well. And
Yeah, they're
again,
so
the
good.
songs are quality, sounds quality, and yeah. So again, that's probably another band that really stood out for me as far as again referencing that old sound, but then taking it and putting their own spin on it as well.
Right, right. Very cool. How would you describe Brute sound? Is it like strictly oi, or does it have some other stuff mixed into it?
It's probably I reckon. Yeah, I think I've picked up a bit of either like new wave, like post punk, even cold wave kind of influences as well. Like there's that kind of hopefully there's a bit of a darker element that cuts through as well.
Yes, I could see
Kind
that.
of, um, but yeah, I think there hasn't really been a definite choice to kind of go any direction. It's just been kind of whatever's kind of come out. I think is I just kind of just run with it and see how it sounds and
Yeah,
yeah.
cool. What inspires your songwriting? Is there like a general theme with your songs, or is it kind of all over the place?
Again, it's kind of all over the place. So usually I start with like a phrase or a hook, like for a chorus idea, and just kind of work around that. But it
Oh,
just
okay.
varies. Like it just depends on kind of what the song, like the music. Usually I start with the music or like a bit of a like chord progression or a riff idea or a
Yeah.
lead part that kind of goes against those like chords. And then typically it'll just be phrases that kind of tend to work like either chorus parts or verse parts or both at the time. So yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag, and there's not really a set formula I've kind of taken with it, and that's kind of been the approach, just to kind of run with whatever comes out, not to force it too much, not to really kind of try and make anything, just see kind of what happens.
Very cool. Did you tour with marching orders? Have you been on tour with them, like in the
Yeah,
States?
so we did so that would have been last October, last October,
Oh, okay.
September, October, yeah. So we did a Europe short kind of 10-day run in Europe. And then we ended at the Pogo Rush Festival in Dresden. So we had
No.
2 nights in Dresden for that. Yeah, so that was cool. That was the first kind of run of shows we did we played in I think it was close to 10 years.
Oh,
So it was a
really?
bit of a dusting off the cobwebs a little bit. But we kind of well I think it was February of last year we got hit up to support Cognitive Rejects
Oh,
when they were coming
wow.
out to Australia. So that was like a bit of the catalyst to get things moving as far as whether we want to do marching orders again or keep it kind of revive it, I suppose, because it had been a while between playing or
Right.
releasing. And so that kicked things off. We at the time, two of our members weren't necessarily they were doing other things and playing other projects or weren't available for marching orders.
Oh, okay.
Um, so we made the decision just to kind of to look for members to jump on board, and luckily we had a couple of mates from the band The Clinch.
Oh, nice. Nice
Yeah, so
influence.
they jumped on board. So Luke and Brendan from The Clinch jumped on board um, with the intention that we would play the Cockney Reject show, and then it just got to the point where it felt like it was sitting pretty right, and it was a good mix. And
Hmm.
then Brilla, who is the promoter of Pogo Rush Festival, he he got wind that we were playing again. He hit us up to see, well, if you guys are playing, would you be interested in doing a bit of a Europe run and then finish up at Pogo Roush? And so
Nice.
we were like, yeah, if you want to get us over there and
Yeah.
play it, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was good. That was a whole bunch of shows throughout. We started in Spain, went through Basque Country. We ended up, yeah, went Switzerland, Belgium, Germany.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a good little run, 10-day run of including the
Yeah.
Pogo Ash shows, like eight shows leading up to Pogo Ash, and then finish up with 2 nights at Pogo Ash.
Nice. Have you played the States with any of your bands with marching orders?
No, not no. So marching orders before I joined, marching orders have played the States. Um, I think it was around 2008 potentially.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
maybe. Yeah, so it was probably around then. But yeah, no, I've never haven't made it to the States yet. So, which is it's definitely on the cards. It'd be cool to get over there. There's been a few people that have just hit me up through the Brute page, as far as if we're ever over there or wanting to put on shows that they'd help out. So everyone's been really
Awesome.
receptive over there, and yeah, just real cool as far as yeah, opening to the idea of putting on shows or being over there for shows. So
That's awesome.
maybe one day we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Well, hopefully, I would love to catch a
Yeah,
show.
yeah. Well, fingers crossed. We'll see how it goes, and we'll yeah. And once we start doing live shows, we'll definitely get a bit of a vibe for how it's feeling and look at the
Yeah,
idea of yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah,
How
and
is
potentially we're looking at also with the marching orders kind of crossover.
uh-huh.
Some of the other guys from marching orders are hopefully going to be on board for Brute as well. So
Oh,
could be
really?
a 2-for-1 type package anyway. So
Oh,
bit
that
of
would
a
be cool. It'd be interesting if you could play a show with marching orders and Brute and jump on stage both
well,
times.
that could be yeah, could be on the cards potentially with the
Yeah,
crossover numbers. So we'll see. At the moment, I'm not kind of pushing it or forcing. We've got a whole bunch of other stuff. Yeah, like the other guys are playing other bands as well. So
right.
they're both in the clinch. They've got that. I think they're looking at recording pretty soon. So they've got that coming up. And then Brandon, who plays bass in Marching Orders and the Clinch, he's got another band called Resolver. So they've just recorded and released as well. So that they're kind of popping off as well. So
Nice.
yeah, so there's a bit going on, and we're kind of just at the moment just yeah focusing marching orders, and we'll see how that goes. We're just looking at doing some new songs for marching orders.
Very cool. What is the scene like in Australia? I don't know
It's
too
kind of up and
much.
down. Like it's a little bit yeah, it comes in waves. I think there was just prior to when I joined marching orders, there was a bit more of a scene in Melbourne. Like Melbourne itself had a bit more of an oi scene
Oh,
in
okay.
that they're able to put on kind of mini festivals and they get like a massive turnout.
Mhm.
And then it's since then it's kind of gone through waves as far as different scenes popping up. Um, at the moment, it's fairly quiet. There's still bands like again, marching orders playing or starting to play a bit more. The Clinch are playing. There's another kind of members from No Class. They've got another band,
Oh,
Cantona.
okay.
So that's kicking off, and they're starting to play shows now, and they've just dropped I think a 7. So there's that. Yeah, there's definitely little pockets. It's not kind of like massive, but I think way in general is not really kind of always in the forefront anyway. It's a bit more, yeah,
Right.
like more that subculture level, I think, which isn't a bad thing. I think it's kind of cool that it's always kind of pretty strong, but it's not kind of taking over mainstream
Yeah,
at all.
not too
It's definitely
popular.
yeah, it's definitely not going to be on the radio. Um, so or mainstream radio anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I like that there's a nice community in the voice scene, and if it was
Yeah,
larger, I feel like that would be kind of lost.
yeah, and I think there's nice that camaraderie, and even again, just even through like Brood or marching orders, like just people reaching out without necessarily knowing us, or but yeah, it's been a lot of people who got in touch and just either for support or just yeah, just reaching out, say hi. So it's even though it's kind of removed from like a world scene, like it feels like we're kind of a long way from things down here.
Right.
Um, it's not once you kind of meet, and again with marching orders, as far as that tour, you really get to see the connection between different countries. There's that really underlying kind of subculture that's strong right through like Europe or
Yeah.
again for you guys for the States. And that's that common kind of thread I think for everyone in the scene, I suppose. Just it's really kind of everyone kind of gets it. There's no egos. Generally speaking, there's always going to be
Right.
something. But I think as a subculture, as a just as a style of music, I think it's really kind of stripped back, and I think that's a really kind of indicator of, um, yeah, that people who are drawn to that are just drawn to kind of really kind of like the songs, the feeling they get from the songs,
Mhm.
and just like the camaraderie.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I think that's so important and it definitely makes a difference. Like I've heard stories about the oi scene in like the 80s and how it was so violent and people were like fighting against each other and how it's so different now. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And that kind of cuts through again. Just again being a little bit removed from things down here. We do, I suppose, you do get to get a bit of a vibe of things, saying like Bandcamp or again through social media.
Mhm.
But yeah, it seems very like everyone's very accepting of new bands. Like there's no kind of like no one's trying to get a step up on anyone or kind of push anyone down. Like it seems to be anything new is really supported and embraced by
That's awesome.
even like older kind of people in the scene. So yeah, so that's cool.
Very cool. Have you been playing in bands like throughout your life?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, my parents were really supportive when I was younger. So I was probably about 10, I think, when I got my first electric guitar.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, so I think it was probably 10, maybe a little bit earlier. And then they got me into lessons, and it was always kind of a part. Like they were always buying equipment and really supportive of just yeah that whole journey. And so
Mhm.
pretty much yeah, from 10 onwards, I learned guitar, was really into metal. I
Oh,
think the
really?
first, yeah, heaps. I've got quite a bit of metal in my collection, but so early days was like Metallica. I think the first tape I ever got was Ride the Lightning, and then I
Oh,
got an
wow.
Iron Maiden tape, again cassette, would in Peace of Mind. So that kicked me off as far as just getting into music, um, and then Black Sabbath and pretty much stuff from my dad's collection. Like he had a whole bunch of tapes and records. Um, so bands like 999, he had like dub
Oh,
copies
right.
of that. And yeah, so that kind of led into the punk side of things, and yeah, so it's always kind of been something that I did and played in different high school bands, and then studied music for a little bit, um, and then just yeah, it's always kind of been various like whether kind of a bit more kind of hardcore bands or punk bands, but it's always kind of been in the sidelines. So um, and then it wasn't until I suppose marching was the first. Like I'd played in high school bands, whatever, and we'd done like just demo recordings just on cassettes, or I had like a big reel to reel 4 track that I used to use. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so that's probably going back and kind of revealing my age a bit too much, but so we did that high school, but yeah, marching orders I think was the first band that really went through the recording process and like the actual kind of refining songs, and working them up. So when I joined, they were halfway through recording Days Gone By. So that was
Oh,
the first album, a full length that we'd recorded. And so it so happened that one of the members, Doug, who played guitar, he was leaving the band. He also sings for Bulldog Spirit. So he was kind of
cool.
focusing more on that at the time. And so I jumped on board when they were partway through, yeah, Days Gone By. And so ended up kind of writing some of the songs. Prior to that, before joining the band, I'd actually been kind of doing the merch designs, like logos and things for them, just because my brother was in the band, so there was a connection there. So I was kind of living a little bit vicariously through them, as far as seeing kind of like it was cool just to see him part of it and releasing, and so yeah,
Yeah.
I was kind of on board as a in the sidelines prior to even joining as well, which kind of made the fit kind of work pretty well when I did jump on board. So. Yeah. So and also as far as before joining the band, I'd also started to write. I think written three songs for them. So I just kind of fed them through. And so I was just at this point I was living up in New South Wales, so just north of Sydney.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't in Melbourne at the time. Um, and just so happened I was able to write some songs. They ended up getting released on earlier. I think one was on an earlier 7, and then one was on like an earlier 10-inch. And then it just happened that when I was moving down to Melbourne, Doug had left the band, I was leaving the band. And so it
Hmm.
just kind of worked out that I was able to jump on board. So yeah. And then the rest kind of, yeah, I think since then we did I end up doing the other half of Days Gone By. Did a follow up album, so Living Proof, and then we've just done like a few kind of sevens and like splits along the way.
Very cool. So it seems like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
in your blood, pretty much. You've been doing it since you were 10. That's crazy.
yeah, and that's it's just kind of just I've just recorded demos all along the way. Like even again, like the Brute is kind of a reflection of that kind of process. Like anytime I was kind of like whether I was kind of just growing up or living it when I was studying, I was always just in the sidelines as far as recording different songs, and some of them vary. Like some of the kind of like hardcore tracks, a lot were kind of a bit more kind of oi or punk based songs. So just because it was a really good fit, kind of moving into marching orders.
Right. Do you still listen to metal? Are you into any new metal bands?
I haven't got. I don't get across a lot of new stuff. A lot of it, any metal I listen to now, like newer stuff, would be more kind of hardcore metal kind of crossover stuff.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but yeah, like most of my metal collection, anything I go to play like on Spotify, be older kind of things like the older Metallica albums or like
Yeah.
Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath is yeah, it's kind of like what kind of kicked it off as well. Um, I'd have to run through my Spotify to have a bit of a look at what's kind of made the rounds, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of just mainly the classics for metal. But yeah, I listen to a whole bunch of hardcore stuff, like the more of the newer hardcore stuff as well. So um, yeah, bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah. No, that's awesome that you have so many, like such an eclectic taste for sure. I love you play the guitar, right? You said
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the guitar sound is so distinct in Brute. I really love that. It's
yeah,
very
cool.
unique to what you normally hear in like boy bands.
Yeah, I think the just being able to experiment and just like record and like overdub and see how things sound and revise it and like it's I think that's
Right.
kind of what's led to like just working through kind of lead parts or even the sound itself. Like it's you're able to kind of just sit there and fine tune that.
Hmm.
Which I think like that's the nature of recording these days. It's pretty accessible and it's pretty like as far as what you can do with minimal equipment, it can be fairly effective. I think so. I think that's part of that as well, like just being able to access it instead of the old, as I mentioned before, the old kind of 4 track reel to reel, which you only got 4 tracks and you had to kind of get the right take each time. You couldn't really overdub too much. So
Oh,
um,
really? Yeah, but that was a completely different process than what you do now.
yeah, yeah. But I think that like in doing that, it set me up to be able to kind of yeah, like to record demos and um, just use kind of whatever equipment was around because that
Right.
being kind of like the most basic of what you could kind of use at the time. Um, I think now we've got computers and like all these plugins and things that just make it super accessible, which has been cool as well. There's been a different like a whole bunch of other project bands that have kind of popped up as well that just I've come across through Bandcamp and like similar kind of situation where they've kind of got the project up and running and then they've got
Mhm.
members on board just to kind of make it a real thing.
Very cool. Are you working on any new music with marching orders or Brute?
Yeah, so marching orders we just recorded last weekend. So
Oh,
we've
wow.
recorded two. Yeah, yeah. So two new songs, just breaking the ice there. This is the first time we've recorded with Brendan and Luke. So we're just trying to get the mix right for that. Um and the energy's good. Yeah, so we've got two songs that are in the process of just the final mixes and looks like they'll be mastered this week, actually. So looking at doing a digital release for that, just to get it out, just to kind of say, yeah, we're back at it and still
Like,
around after
yeah.
10 years or so. So which is cool because when we did Europe, we didn't have anything new, but they'd released a collection of like all the sevens and
Mhm.
like unreleased tracks, like a couple of I think B-sides that weren't released as their own kind of thing, like as far as weren't put on an album. Um, so we had that to kind of tour with, but it wasn't anything new. So this
Right.
is the first of pretty much new stuff that will be kind of dropping. So pretty excited about that and really happy with how it sounds. So yeah, it should be dropping fairly soon, hopefully. Next
Awesome.
few weeks, I would say.
I have to keep my eye out for that. Definitely. Oh, well, you have to let me know when it comes out for
Yeah, yeah,
sure.
cool. No, I'll keep you posted for sure. So it'd be cool just to see how that's yeah, how that's kind of received, I think, because it's always we're a bit kind of not apprehensive, but just wondering how it would go after being so long as far as recording and um
Right.
just seeing how everything will kind of gel together as far as the new kind of new lineup, I suppose. But yeah, no, we're super pumped with how it turned out, and just yeah, looking forward to dropping that. So
Cool.
yeah, so watch this space, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. So what about Brut? Are you working on new music with Brut?
A few there's yeah, a few ideas in the pipeline. The last thing was just a like two track, just like a mini. I guess it would if it was a physical copy, it would be just like a seven, like A side, B side.
Oh,
That was the one that had the Joy Division cover on it.
oh, you did a
Had-
Joy Division cover. That's
yeah,
awesome.
so did a cover of Insight. So that was a fun one. Again, that's a the project is I'm able to have a bit of freedom as far as what's covered as well. Like there's no kind of
Yeah.
um, discussion, I suppose, with other members. I can kind of just think if something sounds like would be a cool thing to do, I can just kind of run with it. So yeah, I
Nice.
guess the reasoning behind that was it kind of felt like it tied in with the like I guess would be the A side. So yeah, it's just kind of keeping the theme of kind of like lyrically and maybe like mood wise. Um, yeah, but again, it's just digital release at this point. So um,
Okay, nothing on vinyl yet.
not yet. I think there's been talk of the one of the Fire and Violence track possibly being released as a seven with maybe the Blitz song as a B side potentially. So
Oh,
yeah, but
okay.
still yeah, it's looking up in the air. But potentially that's another Lionheart release. But yeah, that's yeah. I know we'll see how it goes.
Very cool. Is there a place where people can buy your merch?
At the moment, there's so excuse me Bother prints in the
Oh, okay.
States.
I've
Yeah,
heard of
so
them.
at the moment there's shirts. So I think there's like three different prints. There's the one main print, but it's on three different styles of shirts. So Bother for shirts mainly in the States at the moment, just through Bother prints. As
Okay.
far as the release, as far as like physical copies, I've pretty much like all the copies I've had have basically moved. So excuse me. Yeah, so I think Lionheart they sold out pretty early on when
Oh,
that
that's
dropped as well. So yeah, so it's cool. Yeah, so potentially I think there was talk of like maybe repressings of that EP, like the original EP,
okay.
which
Cool.
yeah, hopefully that may be soon. But again, it's just yeah, just kind of just take it as it comes and not really forcing anything or pushing it. Yeah.
Right. That sounds like such a different process than marching orders, but I think that's a really cool one that you get to be in charge of the band pretty much. That's
Yeah, well, it's I think well, marching orders in saying that marching orders is pretty easy as well. Like we're all pretty much on the same page with a lot of things, and it's a really kind of it's a fairly easy process as well.
oh, okay.
Um, but again, it's a bit more of a refined process. Like we tend to work things up a bit more and spend time rehearsing before we make it to the studio. So yeah, it's more of a that instant turnaround of yeah, just having a song idea, recording, and it's able to, and especially in the age of like digital releases, like a lot of people are just kind of dropping digital tracks anyway.
Yeah,
Um,
for
so
sure.
it's just that instant turnaround where you can just drop it on Bandcamp and get that kind of instant feedback as far as if people dig it or not. So, which hopefully they do. I don't know, we'll see.
I noticed that on your Instagram, I was looking at your pictures. There's one picture of you with the guys that you play with the ski masks on. Is that the look
Mm.
like you're going for when you finally do play a show?
That was a photo that was they just needed a photo for the a split. We did a split with the hard crops from Malaysia.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so just
Cool.
yeah, just need to and to keep it kind of that anonymous type of vibe, I suppose. That was just yeah, just for the sake of having a photo. It was just part of that release. So
Right. I was just
not much.
curious. I was just curious
Yeah,
about it.
I think it's just one of those things that at the time as well, it was a bit more of anonymous thing. Like I hadn't really kind of said who's potentially part of it or even like mentioned like who I was or anything. So yeah, it was just I don't know, kind of thought it looked cool. Like a
Yeah,
bit
no,
of
it
history around it
does.
at the time, and even now, like I haven't really kind of advertised too much about it. So
Yeah, it makes sense when now with you saying the whole anonymous thing. Definitely. You want to,
mm,
you don't know for sure who's going to be in the band and the final lineup
yeah,
and everything. That totally makes sense.
yeah. So it's just kind of keeping like those who may end up in the sidelines, and again, like not really kind of having to kind of advertise it too much or say who's in this band or who's in that band. Um, yeah, and it just kind of keeps it its own thing as well. Like I don't like again, it doesn't have to be kind of linked to anything or
Right.
I suppose the more I talk about it now, it will be understandably kind of linked, like that marching orders kind of like side project thing, I suppose. But um, I think up until now, it's just been cool just to kind of just write it out and see kind of just where
Yeah.
it went without having to kind of put labels on it or put kind of too much into promotion.
Right.
Which is kind of like I suppose the more I don't know, not the fun side of playing, I suppose.
That makes sense. When did you
Um,
say Brute started? What year was that when Brute started?
it was before. It was kind of in between. I can't remember. It would have been after we played with Cognitive Rejects. So last year, probably like early last year.
Oh,
It
wow,
probably would
that
have. I
new.
think like early kind of demos would have been floating around. I think. Um, and it really only it started just as one track. So I just started off the track "We Still Believe." So that's pretty much like the title track for that EP.
Right.
And at the time, it was just kind of I was working up a sound like a guitar sound that I thought sounded cool, and just kind of wanted something to record for that. Um, and something kind of I guess reflected that older style of Oi. And then it just I figured I'd just drop it and put it on Bandcamp. And Trev from Crown Court actually was one of the first to share it. So
Oh, that's really
as soon as
cool.
yeah. So as soon as he shared that, it seemed to kind of get a bit more traction and seemed to get a bit more lessons, and I think people started to kind of pay a bit more attention to it. So that was cool. Yeah, it was awesome. He was kind of again that just kind of shows I think the scene that like more established bands are really open to kind of getting newer projects or bands out there and um,
Yeah,
so yeah, it
definitely.
was cool of him to do that. It was yeah, awesome to. I still owe him a copy of the EP. I've got to shoot that across the UK, um, but yeah, it was good. It was nice to just get that. I suppose it just validates it in that like a band that I really respect, and
Oh,
kind of listen to that someone from that is like taking on board and again sharing it and promoting it. So yeah, and I think it's just kind of flowed on just from I suppose just that track, um, and I kind of set the goal like record. I think I recorded another like follow up track to that, and then end up just posting like EP coming soon. So I kind of set myself that goal that it would be an EP at some
hmm
point, which is good. Like I kind of in putting that out there, kind of gave me a bit of motivation to make it happen. So
right.
that was kind of like again the catalyst to just kind of get it done. So yeah, give myself
That's
that okay, bit of a push.
awesome. Yeah, motivation to keep going and everything. That's awesome
Yeah,
that you got that support from Trevor or that's, we need to see a lot more of that in the scene supporting each other. It's so important,
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I'm an artist, so it's like you don't in the art community, we don't have that support. I feel like that the oi
I
scene
get.
is getting.
Yeah, I suppose like artists, everyone's trying to make a name for themselves, I suppose, rather than and like make themselves stand out. I guess. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, unless it's part of a collective, I suppose it may vary. But again, everyone's got. I guess yeah. I suppose art is like a solo kind of venture, really, isn't it? Like that. So
yeah,
you try to get that solo name for yourself. So
and you don't get
uh,
famous until you die.
well, that's it as well. Yeah, yeah. That's the
But
yeah.
anyway, no,
That's the
but
side.
is there anything else you want to talk about before I let you go?
That's. I think that's probably it. Yeah, I think that's yeah. I think we've covered it. Probably got just again watch your space for marching order stuff. that's yeah, new stuff kind of popping off there, which is pretty exciting to jump into.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's probably about it. I think there's yeah, I think we're kind of ticked all the boxes there as far as
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm excited to hear new stuff from Marching Orders and Brute. I mean, those are two amazing bands that you're working on and part of. So I'm looking forward to hearing more. Hopefully can make it to the
yeah,
US
cool.
with one of those bands.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, fingers crossed one day. Definitely. I know marching orders. We've discussed it a little bit, and there's been a whole bunch of kind of along the way. There's been people who've been keen to kind of get us across there. So it's just, I suppose,
Yeah.
finding the right people, the right time, and just making it all kind of line up. So, but it's a long way from here though. That's the tricky part. That's
Well,
um,
I'm sure you'll get
travel
there.
wise. Yeah. So that's the
Well,
yeah.
it's been such a pleasure talking to you. Hang out when after I stop recording for a minute.
Yeah, cool.
Uh,
Yeah, so-
This has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I'm so glad you told me about marching orders. I didn't know that. So it's cool to hear about what's happening with that band as well. So it's been a pleasure.
No, I appreciate it. No, thanks for having me on, and thanks for the support. And again, everything you do for the scene is awesome. Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, I'm Brackett. This is Broad from Brute. You've been watching On the Nod. Thank you for tuning in.
Cheers.
All right.